about it. Get your copies while they last. Stop the presses.
And now for something completely different.
There's no business like show business. Are we not entertained? Prepare yourself for a little sensory overload. Stand by to roll show intro. Roll show intro in 3, 2, 1, go.
It's showtime. The Craig L. Hayes Show. Hello, America, family, friends, and listeners all around this planet we call home. This is It's Showtime, the Craig L. Hayes Show, and I am your host, Craig L. Hayes. And we're continuing on our journey on the 17th of April, 2026, and we're back on the road. I call it on the road. I'm not really driving around the country. I'm just driving down the street from my home base there at the Westgate Resort in Las Vegas in Elvis Presley's dressing room. But I'm taking this on the road a little bit around town to do interviews with people. And today we're down at the Smith Center. And it's just took a tour around the place a little bit. What a marvelous looking place. It's beautiful. And I'm going to have to come see a show here sometime.
You should.
Yeah, I'm going to have to do that now that I'm not in the biz anymore. Go enjoy the shows from the front side instead of watching everything from the back side. But I'm here, and we're going to be talking to another friend of mine that I've known. We were talking about it like, we've known each other for over 30 years.
Yeah.
Where'd this time go by? What happened? So his name is John Rote. John, welcome to the show.
Well, it's pleasure to be here.
It's so good to have you here on this show. It's just took a little tour of your facility here, and you got a beautiful theater here. And John is the head audio for the Smith Center here, and takes care of all the audio needs and babysits everybody. And I've known him to do nothing but audio for his whole entire life. Basically,
that's all I've ever done.
So we'll talk about where we met up and how we got to know each other, and how we used to shoot each other with paintballs and stuff like that. And that was a long time ago.
Jeez.
So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I think my back is starting to hurt.
Yeah. Someone shot you. That's right. So you got friendly fire one time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, I think it was Jay. I blame Jay for that one.
Probably was.
Yeah.
Blame him. Yeah.
Yep. I can blame him for a lot of stuff.
But so glad to have you on the show, and so glad to have you here. What we'll do is start off by just tell me a little bit about yourself, where you came from, born, raised, school, sports, whatever you did like that. And then the magic question is going to be to you is, how did you get into the business we call show?
Right. So I was born a poor black child.
Steve Martin, I love the jerk.
Only because Bernadette Peters is going to be here tomorrow, so that's the only thing that prompted that.
That is
so
awesome.
So that's great. So actually, no, I was still born poor. That is true. In southwestern Pennsylvania, just outside of Pittsburgh, in this tiny mountain town called Connellsville, where I spent. Actually, I had a great childhood, had great parents. The school district was pretty good. Lots of mountain stuff. Lovely time. That's where the journey probably started when I started in the VOTEC school there at the Connellsville Senior High, where I was started in residential electricity, motor control, basic robotics. So that gave me my foundation of electricity and just understanding electricity and circuits and, troubleshooting, all that stuff. So that's where the kind of the ground floor started.
All right.
And then through my senior year there, I started looking at, you look at college and all that stuff. And I actually was accepted to the Penn State School of Technology for fiber optic communication. So I did that, and then I also joined the United States Navy Reserves to help pay for college, as most people in that area do. So I went away to basic training, and I did communication studies. So I did top secret communications, where I was based out of the Pentagon. for a few years, but I worked. My reserve duty was in Pittsburgh, but my active duty station was the Pentagon, where if I were to have did my 2 weeks active there and all that fun stuff, and it sounds a lot more exciting than it actually was, but that's what I did for those 4 years, and then. So after I finished basic training, of course, my parents were strict, and they're like, "Okay, well, it's not a free ride. Go get a job before you start college. Stuff, all that fun stuff." So I started thinking about, because remember, this is 1990. This is not the technological, that we're in now, where fiber optic is everywhere. So as a kid. Fresh, I'm still 18, and I'm like, fiber optic, because my dad found out through Bella, Pennsylvania, what the next technology is going to be, and they're like, fiber optic, and then I start thinking, well, what's Bella, Pennsylvania do? Well, they fix phone lines, and what do you see in the wintertime? The guy up on the man lift, on the pole, in February, -10 outside, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. That sounds horrible, because that's the only thing I can think of. Because the fiber optics today is far beyond light years of what I was thinking in 1990. And then, lo and behold, on the TV, on MTV, comes this advertisement for the Art Institute of Pittsburgh music and video business. And I was like, well, that looks like a lot more fun. I'm like, well, let me go look into that. So I went down there. I got enrolled. I did all that stuff. And the good thing is like the school gives you about a good vocabulary, I'll say. It gives you a good round basis, because it touched on audio, lighting, film, radio, all that stuff. Good background. And then through that I started an internship with a local sound company in Pittsburgh called Hollowwood Sound. And I did a bunch of summer stuff with them, and moved on, and I was doing a lot of shows, and my term was coming up to be done with the Navy Reserve, so I got out of that. And this was around 94, this was early 94, and my brother had been here in Vegas on business he lived in Long Beach, and that's when the Northridge earthquake hit. And he was on the 22nd floor of the Excalibur, which at the time was one of the biggest hotels in Vegas, because the MGM was still being built. And he felt that, and he was like, that's not going to be good. So he was tired of California, tired of the earthquakes, tired of all that stuff. So he moved here in May of 94. And he called me. He's like, you got to get out of here. This town is booming. Get out here. So I moved out in 94. Again, I got a job with a local sound company called Audio Services Corporation, which is how I got my foot in. Spent a few months with them, and that's how I pretty much got started. It was a long story there, but
Yeah. So after audio services, what did you do? If you said you're there a few months, where'd you go from there?
So some of the managers there, Chris Becks, Terry Murphy, because you remember I'm still 22.
Yeah.
I don't know anything. I mean, I have basics, but I'm still green as what way I used to refer to back was still green and blue and yellow. I wasn't even green yet. I was still half blue, half yellow. So they started a company originally called Enterprise West. That was the original name, and they had a couple lead guys there, Mike Leonetti, who was kind of like the senior audio guy, and brought me in. And they said, because I had such a fantastic work ethic and I was still young and abusable, as you are when you're that young. And they started a company. They started that company, Enterprise West. Great company. It was all brand new. Christmas that year was very, very hard for me because I got to open about $3 million worth of gear in November of 94. And then when Christmas rolled around, it was like,
Thank you for the socks.
Yeah, thanks for the underwear. Appreciate that. So yeah, and then we just started evolving the company, and then I don't know, the Enterprise West wasn't catching on as an audio company name. The owner, ooh, man, Craig Huxley was the original owner. He owned a recording studio in Burbank called Enterprise Studios because he was on the original cast of Star Trek. For those of you that are old enough to know what I'm talking about, he was one of the mind kids in the original episodes that he had psychic powers and they did the fist pump thing. Anyway,
Oh, yeah, I remember that one.
He
Yeah.
was the redhead kid. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was Craig. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So they changed the name to Enterprise Live to make it made more sense than West. They didn't know we didn't even know what West meant because we were east of LA.
Yeah.
So so they changed it to Enterprise Live and then that stuck. And I was there on and off doing, everything. We came over to the Hilton. We were doing Star Policy on the Friday nights, doing Starlight Express. Bringing in just whatever the artists need, and they were everybody, Casey and the Sunshine Band, and everybody. It was great. One of the funniest moments I remember was when it was the Yardbirds came over there, and of course there was nobody actually from the Yardbirds. It was like the drummer or something, and because we all knew that Jimmy Page wasn't going to show up. Jeff Beck wasn't going to show up, or Eric Clapton. We knew those guys weren't walking in the door.
No, they probably weren't going to be there.
They were not going to be there. So, and this guitar player I'll never forget how loud his guitar rig was. It was obscenely loud. And I was walking out the front of the house, and he said, "Can I have some of that in my monitor wedge?" And I literally peed myself. It was so, I'm like, how can, everybody can hear that. Anyway, so I digress from that, but yeah. So and then actually one of my favorite times at the Hilton, and I'm going to keep calling it Hilton because I just can't call it the Westgate for some reason.
I still slip into that once in a while myself. Yeah.
Especially when I talk to other people around my same age, because I work a lot with Laura Piccios or Laura James, which was Steve James's daughter. She works with me a lot. So we talk about the Hilton, but the Primetime Country, the TNN stuff was, that was so much fun. I had so much fun on that. That was like 3 or 4 years. Was once or twice a year? What was that?
It was NFR every year. Yeah.
It was So it was the beginning.
The whole NFR a week. Yeah.
Yeah, the end of November, first week of December. That was. Yeah. So that was tons of fun, especially putting down the turntable and having those bands on the spin, and God, that was a lot of fun. That was one of my favorite memories of that place over there was doing the Primetime Country TNN talk show.
A lot of audio gear in there.
The trucks.
Because remember, we were also doing live shows at night. We were doing the Primetime Country during the daytime. And so you had nothing but consoles everywhere to run that, the TV show. And then they would bring in, it was either Tim McGraw, it was Faith Hill, it was Brooks and Dunn. You just never knew who was, a lot of these groups would come in. And they brought all their
stuff, yeah.
And so, I would just go over there and look at all you guys with that audio and just go, I'm glad I don't do audio anymore,
Yeah, I know you probably talked about this with Ed Johnson, but that one of my favorite things you guys had over there when Starlight was still there. Well, actually, you still had it there. Is when we would put the platform above the mixing consoles for the showroom, and then you built those lovely skate ramps out of all the old skate wheels out of Starlight Express, and we would just roll them across and put them on. That was always fun.
Yeah, we had built that table that went over. It was custom fit. Everything was custom because the Starlight Express had two Yamaha PM4Ks.
Yep.
And those could never move. They had to stay put, and they couldn't be touched because it was for the Starlight. But whatever came in, We built it so it was sat right over the very top of it, and we built a platform you could stand on. And
Genius.
And the only way we could get those consoles, because the consoles are 5, 6, 7, 800 pounds. They're not exactly easy just to pass over and say, "Hey, can you grab that corner?" So we built we built those out of angle iron, and we literally used skate wheels from Starlight Express to do these rollers, so you could roll, you could attach it to the platform it was going to go onto, and then the skate wheel rollers would come over the side of the console, and you just set up on the console and roll it right on, pull the pins.
It was great. It was genius, sheer genius. Yeah.
Yeah, that was Ed and I just coming around going, okay, how are we going to get this? This is getting ridiculous trying to do all this hard work. We got to make this so it's a lot simpler. And he says, we need to make something that like rolls over there or something like that. And what are we going to use? Well, we have like 50 boxes of skate wheels.
Oh yeah, that was fun. That was so much fun. So yeah, so we did that there, and then in '99, I left Enterprise Live.
So you'd been there about 5 years.
I've been there about 5 years.
Okay.
I was looking, of course, it always starts out with money, and they were like, "Well, we can give you," and I was working my butt off. I mean, I worked a lot. And I was salary. It wasn't very much. I had just gotten married in '98, and just looking for more money. So I broke out to go do freelance. I started freelancing in '99. Joined the 720 union in '99 also. So I've been in there since '99. And that was just, and that was actually the one thing that helped me being at Enterprise Live, going into all the, going over to the Flamingo, getting to know the guys over there, Jim Nez, and the guys over there, Michael Martin.
Martin was still there, yeah.
Yeah, he just retired.
Yeah.
God, he came. His son was just here, and he won. Well, last year he won the High School Musical Awards. Great voice. Kid's going to make something on Broadway. And we were talking, and he's 72 years old now.
And finally retired.
Just retired. He could have retired when I started with Gladys over there, which we'll get to in a minute. But yeah. So anyway, so '99 went, and I was just freelancing, picking up whatever work, and knowing Dave Torty at the Coliseum. Well, actually, it wasn't even the Coliseum yet.
It was Circus
still
Maximus still.
Yeah, it was still. Yeah, it was still. God, Circus Maximus.
Yeah, you made a lot of good contacts.
I did
doing the Enterprise thing.
I've just been. Just the people I got to know and all the steps through my career, I've been very fortunate. Just I'll pat myself back on a little bit. You got to have the work ethic.
Exactly, and everyone saw that in you. Absolutely, because it was one of those things of, they saw you all the time. They knew you knew the gear. You knew what you were doing, stuff like that. And the thing was, once you said, "Yeah, I'm with 720 now," they went, "Oh, really?" Cool.
I made, what's funny is I made a lot of people angry because they're like, "Who's this new kid?" And he was like, "Oh, he's now on chart." And yeah, so I had good parts, and then there were other people that weren't so happy. But everybody got over that. So yeah, so then just lots of freelance gigs up until the Christmas of '90. Yeah, it was Christmas of '99. There was a new show coming to the Paris because the Paris had just opened, and it was called Notre Dame de Paris. So I heard through, I don't know who, because it was a 720 theater. So someone says, "Hey, they're having problems down there. You should probably go down and poke your head around and see if you can drop off a resume or something." So I did. So I found one of the, I can't remember who the guys were. The guy called me the next day because I had on my resume a certain mixing console that was very rare called a Gamble EX56. And he goes, "You know how to use one of those?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Come down to the theater." So I came down. Now, I think by this time it was January. So after a bunch of stuff and I ended up actually fixing a bunch of things that was wrong with their in-house stuff. Got the job there, and then I was there for 6 months because the show got shut down in July of 2000 And then a few more back to more freelance. And then I got the job at Storm at Mandalay Bay, and I was there for a little over a year. And then that's when, oh my gosh, what was his name? Oh, I can't remember his name. Steve Boots.
Oh, Boots. Okay.
Yeah, Steve Boots. So Steve Boots says, "Hey, I can't do this gig at Gladys night. I can't do this. Can you? Would you take the gig?" I'm like, "Yes," because I knew that the Storm show was not gonna make it.
Yeah. Sometimes you can just tell.
You could just tell.
And I didn't understand that with Notre Dame de Paris. That was an awesome show.
Well, I'll give
I
you.
loved that show.
I'll give you a little insight on that one. So what had happened was, and he said this over a live microphone in front of people. The president of the Paris didn't want a themed show. He wanted star policy. So the producer of Notre Dame de Paris had just put in, I don't know, a couple $100,000 into advertising. He revamped the advertising way, and it actually was working. So we were actually picking up business. Mm-hmm. But then the president of the hotel at the time said, "Well, I need the next 6 months' rent." And he's like, "I don't have any money right now." He goes, "Okay, you got 2 weeks to get out. Get out." So show shut down. Blah 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 blah. So I actually helped restore the showroom back to its original install. The technical director at the time was Laura Isham.
Isham, yep.
And Drew Stroza, he was over at Bally's. So I helped them rebuild it, put everything back to the way it was, because we did alter a bunch of stuff for the Notre Dame show. And then she's like, "Hey, can you do these?" They called, I think it was called a town hall. The town hall was about the changes in the showroom. So the president of the hotel came down, brought, just all three shifts came through, and they talked about what was going on. And like I said, he said over a live microphone that he forced them out because he wanted star policy.
Yeah.
So we do that. And now, of course, I'm back on the bounce doing the 720 stuff and whatever. And then Laura Isham calls me a couple days later. "Hey, we're going to do another round of town halls again." I'm like, "Well, we just did that." She's like, "Yeah, they fired the president for forcing out the show that was Paris themed." So the president of the hotel got fired because of.
They were already gone,
yeah,
so no point there now.
So no point there anymore. So yeah,
But I went and saw that show. It was awesome.
it was
show.
a fantastic show.
It
It
was-
was. Yeah, it was. Well, it was. What a lot of people didn't know. One, it was based on Victor Hugo's book, Notre Dame de Paris, about the Hunchback of Notre Dame and Esmeralda. It's a very dark book. It's not Disney. It was not a Disney production. So there were a few disappointed families when there were three murders in the show. They murder the Catholic priest, they murder the revolutionary guy, and then they hang Esmeralda at the end.
Yeah.
All that fun family stuff. So that was a fun part. With all the kids thinking that they were coming to see the Hunchback from Notre Dame via Disney, and
Yeah. It's more like Les Miserables.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was
Everybody dies.
Everybody dies in that one, yeah. So, it was a lovely show. I really, the music was great.
It was.
And what I was going with is that show was in the National Theater in Paris. It ran for years. A very successful show in Paris. And then they actually had a couple I don't know if they ever did it in Montreal. I'm not positive, but we did have a bunch of substitute and understudies coming from Montreal to help support the show here in Vegas. There might have been a show in Montreal. I really don't remember. It was 26 years ago. So yeah, so we did that, moved along from there, and then I kind of just stayed freelance for about 3 years, something like that. Yeah, I was just on and off there for a bit, on the bounce a lot, and then an opportunity came to PRG through some friends. They needed a solder jockey, just someone to sit on the bench and fix cables and do stuff. And I was actually still with Gladys at night. So I was just at PRG in the daytime, doing the Gladys thing after the Notre Dame or after the storm into there. So I was at the Flamingo, doing 720 in the showroom there for Gladys Night, and then whatever shows we had. The Amazing Jonathan and George Wallace as the shows after Gladys. So, and then I was just a solder jockey in the morning for PRG, and then kind of the PRG thing started to take off. Also, at the same time as Gladys was waning, she was kind of out of her contract, and then I became the full-time shop manager at PRG for a couple years, and then still doing some freelance gigs at night.
Back into the rental
Back
place.
into the rental. They pulled they pulled me
when
back
I thought
in.
I'm out,
They
they
pulled me
pull me back in.
So I did that, and then 2005 came around, and my buddy John Trace, who I had worked with at Notre Dame de Paris and Storm, I said, "Hey, do you want to go do a musical?" And I had been recently divorced, and I had no real ties. I had nothing really keeping me, in Vegas. I'm like, "Yeah, I'll go do a, first national tour for a Broadway called Spam-A-Lot," and went out for eight or 9 months, and I did that. And then I came back to Vegas after me and the sound designers kind of didn't get along for a bit, but those clashes happen, as you do, and yeah,
And that was Spam-A-Lot?
that was Spam-A-Lot 2005. God, and they were just here. So the 20th anniversary of the Spam-A-Lot theater show was just here a couple months ago, and that was 20 years ago that I did that. We're only 20 years in, Craig.
Well,
We're only 20 years in.
not too bad. Hey, John, that's about the end of that first episode, and we're going to take just a couple minutes here, reset, and we're going to go on to episode number 2, so stand by. You're listening to It's Showtime, the Craig L. Hayes Show.